creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social. Aquí, la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
Derecho llegó a la UAO, un programa interdisciplinar, flexible y actual en el que a través de la imaginación, la creación y la innovación mezcla lo mejor de la tradición del derecho con los retos del mundo contemporáneo, los negocios, la tecnología y la sostenibilidad. Estudia Derecho en la UAO.
Para esas madres que son madres y padres y sueñan con un futuro mejor para sus hijos. Para esas abuelas que se convirtieron en madres una vez más, entregando lo mejor de sí. Para esos padres que a pesar del cansancio, siempre encuentran la fuerza para seguir. Para aquellos familiares que a pesar de la distancia, apoyan el futuro de los suyos. Con esfuerzo y esperanza, las familias construyen sueños. Con conocimiento, la UAO los transforma en realidad. Estudian la UAO.
Una universidad de la comunidad y para la comunidad. En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social, porque aquí la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
A continuación, en UAO Play. UAO Play, aquí te ves.
UAO Play en YouTube.
Conocimiento puro.
UAO Play, aquí te ves.
En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social. Aquí, la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
Derecho llegó a la UAO, un programa interdisciplinar, flexible y actual en el que a través de la imaginación, la creación y la innovación mezcla lo mejor de la tradición del derecho con los retos del mundo contemporáneo, los negocios, la tecnología y la sostenibilidad. Estudia Derecho en la UAO.
Para esas madres que son madres y padres y sueñan con un futuro mejor para sus hijos. Para esas abuelas que se convirtieron en madres una vez más, entregando lo mejor de sí. Para esos padres que a pesar del cansancio, siempre encuentran la fuerza para seguir. Para aquellos familiares que a pesar de la distancia, apoyan el futuro de los suyos. Con esfuerzo y esperanza, las familias construyen sueños. Con conocimiento, la UAO los transforma en realidad. Estudian la UAO.
Una universidad de la comunidad y para la comunidad. En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social, porque aquí la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
UAO Play en YouTube.
Conocimiento puro.
UAO Play, aquí te ves. A continuación, en UAO Play. UAO Play, aquí te ves.
En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social. Aquí, la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
Derecho Llegó a la UAO, un programa interdisciplinar, flexible y actual en el que a través de la imaginación, la creación y la innovación mezcla lo mejor de la tradición del derecho con los retos del mundo contemporáneo, los negocios, la tecnología y la sostenibilidad. Estudia Derecho en la UAO.
Para esas madres que son madres y padres y sueñan con un futuro mejor para sus hijos. Para esas abuelas que se convirtieron en madres una vez más, entregando lo mejor de sí. Para esos padres que a pesar del cansancio, siempre encuentran la fuerza para seguir. Para aquellos familiares que a pesar de la distancia, apoyan el futuro de los suyos. Con esfuerzo y esperanza, las familias construyen sueños. Con conocimiento, la UAO los transforma en realidad. Estudian la UAO.
Una universidad de la comunidad y para la comunidad. En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social, porque aquí la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
UAO Play en YouTube.
Conocimiento puro.
UAO Play, aquí te ves.
En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social. Aquí la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
Derecho llegó a la UAO, un programa interdisciplinar, flexible y actual en el que a través de la imaginación, la creación y la innovación mezcla lo mejor de la tradición del derecho con los retos del mundo contemporáneo, los negocios, la tecnología y la sostenibilidad. Estudia Derecho en la UAO.
Una universidad de la comunidad y para la comunidad. En la UAO creemos que transformar con conocimiento es formar profesionales que lideran con compromiso social, porque aquí la enseñanza se vive y se aplica para cambiar realidades y fortalecer el futuro de todos. Entra a www.uao.edu.co y vive el poder de transformar con conocimiento.
A continuación, en UAO Play. UAO Play, aquí te ves.
Hemos viajado por el mundo, habitado las palabras de Francia y Alemania, sentimos el pulso vital de Brasil, México, Cuba y Japón. Cada destino nos ha revelado el alma de su gente y que una lengua no solo se habla, también se saborea y se escribe. Es a través de su riqueza, de esa profundidad milenaria que estamos por descubrir, que nos adentramos hoy en el arte de sus letras y en una gastronomía donde cada ingrediente cuenta una historia de siglos. Hoy engalanamos un país que resguarda una obra maestra de arquitectura y diseño paisajístico, el Templo del Cielo, una pieza que ilustra de manera sencilla y gráfica una cosmogonía vital para la evolución de una de las grandes civilizaciones del mundo. Navegamos el río Amarillo, cuna de la civilización, donde el agua es el origen de la historia y la memoria de un pueblo que nunca se detiene. Aquí, la dualidad es el equilibrio. El poder del dragón se abraza con la delicadeza de la peonía, símbolo de prosperidad, y la pureza del loto, esencia de la tradición. Caminamos entre el bambú, esa planta que nos enseña que la verdadera fortaleza reside en la flexibilidad y en el crecimiento constante hacia el cielo. El logo de esta versión nace de esa misma energía orgánica y fluida. Las iniciales C y H se conectan para dar vida a un dragón que culmina en un nudo sin fin. Mito y continuidad integrados en un solo gesto visual de transformación y fortaleza. Bienvenidos a una nueva versión de Palabras y Encuentros de Lenguajes. Nuestro país invitado, China.
Welcome to UAO Speaks English.
A streaming program with a radio format made by the students for the world.
Guys, what about the energy? Hello. Hey, there you go. Thank you also for the people that are connected online, and we're having some special guests. Let's start with one of my co-hosts. Hello, Linda. How are you doing? Nice, that's great. And also, we're going to introduce our special guest. So, hello, Christina. Great, and you?
Excited to be here.
That's right. Okay, so before to start, can you introduce a little bit about yourself? Who's Christina?
For sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Chang. I am a third-year York University student in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I am half Chinese and half Italian, and but my culture growing up, I was Canadian, Chinese, Italian, and my dad also grew up in Trinidad, so I feel as though I am very multicultural. I'm so excited to be here and to share my experiences and a little bit about China and its diversity.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you for accepting this invitation. On the other hand, we're having a Christopher. Hello, Christopher.
Hello. Welcome. Hello to UAO. Hola. My name is Christopher Chang. I work for TD Bank. Been with the bank for about 20 years now. And very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And also, you're Christina's dad, right?
Yes, I am Christina's dad.
That's great. Okay, as you know, we're talking about this amazing country, China. And because we're having this opportunity of having this special guest that they're having this Western and Asia inheritance, we would like to ask you some differences that you maybe have identified between these two cultures, because I know that you live in Canada. So maybe our first questions could be like, what is the biggest difference that you have identified between Canada and China in this case?
I think growing up with my family, I've noticed a lot of differences that were more surrounded around culture. China is a very collectivist culture, meaning that they support the idea of social order and what's best for the group. And I can see this in the way that they're big on rice farming. And rice farming is a very group collectivist effort. It's a lot of effort and time and work that puts into helping everyone in the community. Whereas I see Canada, Western countries, and a lot of countries around the world as a more individualist country, where it's more about the individual and having uniqueness and diplomacy of the self, which is a really interesting contrast. And I feel like it's also seen in the cuisine. A lot of Chinese food is sharing around the table. My dad can speak to that too. I feel like it's a big part.
Definitely, we tried to bring the Chinese culture to Canada as well. So growing up, we used to do a lot of things, Chinese things, something like dim sum, where we go out for, it's like a brunch, and we go out to eat together as a family and order food. So it's doing the little things to share and to bring the family closer. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So guys, now that you're talking about cuisine, Linda, do you have a question about this part?
That we think is from China. We actually have something called arroz chino, that rice, Chinese rice, and I know it's really different from the one you have in your country, right?
Yes, I've yet to try it, but I've heard about it, and yes, I heard it's very different.
And what are the differences? I mean, we have like meat and different, I don't know, flavors, and maybe we have chicken in the rice, but it's different, right?
It's like, I've never tried it nor seen it, but I'm assuming it's like a fried rice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is there egg inside it?
No.
Okay, so that's one difference that I'm thinking of. Usually the typical like Chinese fried rice that I would think of would have like peas and pork inside and carrots, and it would be stir fried, and then they put some soy sauce in it. I don't know, is it spicy usually? Or?
No, it is not.
Okay, depending on the region in China, more the north, they tend to use different spices like chili peppers, specifically Szechuan cuisine is very focused on like adding spice to their foods. So I think that's one big difference between the Colombian Chinese food and Chinese food.
And did you miss any, I don't know, plate?
Sorry?
Do you miss something for your country?
Yeah, for sure. I actually miss tofu, if I'm being honest. Most people are not big fans of tofu, which is totally understandable. The taste palette is a bit different and soft, but I actually appreciate how diverse it is. It's used in a lot of traditional Chinese cuisines. It's soya beans, and then it comes together like a pudding kind of consistency, but it can also be stir-fried. It's very diverse, and usually it's eaten with rice. It can be sweet, it can be salty, and I haven't seen a lot of tofu here.
So tofu is your comfort food?
Exactly.
And your father's, maybe?
What's yours? Your comfort food.
Yeah. Sorry, that we couldn't listen well, your part, but I mean, I want to just highlight something. Here in Colombia, when we talk about Chinese food, it's not 100% Chinese food. I mean, it's like Chinese people that open restaurants and they adapted the dishes to the local tastes. For example, here the Chinese rice is fried rice. I think it is so funny, the name.
So one of the things about fried rice, and especially Chinese food in general, is the color. So that's why they always have like green peas, carrots, the splash of color in there to give it a little pizzazz, I guess, when you look at it. So I'm not sure here. I haven't had Chinese food here, to be honest. Came to Cali to try the Cali food, right?
Okay, that's great.
Which is good. It's been great. So I haven't had a chance to try the Chinese food here. I'm not sure where the Chinese restaurants are, but maybe someone can take me there, and then I'll be able to experience it.
Well, I want to ask the students here, guys, have you ever eaten Chinese rice? Yes?
Oh.
So, is it delicious? I know, guys. Here, I mean, one of the best options when you're hungry, Chinese rice.
Oh, okay. It does fill you up, but then about an hour or 2 hours, you're probably hungry again.
Okay, and also something that here is very common is the chop suey.
Oh, chop suey.
Yeah.
So lots of vegetables in that, and I think it's healthy. So I think one of the things about Chinese is they love their fresh vegetables. You won't see a lot of salad in Chinese food because they like to cook their salads, especially the tougher vegetables. So it's a little more softer when you eat it. So the belief is that it's more digestive when you're eating these cooked vegetables as opposed to the raw vegetables. And that's why when you go to a Chinese restaurant or you have Chinese food, it's mainly stir-fried. So it's cooked quickly.
Okay. I also heard about the hot pot.
Oh, hot pot. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the hot pot just because in hot pot, you got to cook it yourself. So my belief is when I go to a restaurant, I want someone to cook for me as opposed to me cooking, right? So that's just me, but it's very popular in China, very popular in Canada. It's fresh because you have the a boiling pot of soup. It's different types of soups. And you can, the meat, you can dip it into there, but the meat is very thin, so it cooks very quickly. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people go to the hot pot because it's fresh.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you, and also I think it's sometimes spicy.
Yeah, again, I'm not a fan of the spiciness, but depending on which part of China you're from, the northern part, they love their spices, they love it spicy, right? I believe in Cali, it's not, they don't enjoy spicy food, which I fit into as well, because I think it's great. I don't have to ask, is it spicy? Although many times there's been spicy food and you don't realize it's spicy, right? So
Okay.
it's quite bad.
Well, here we are not very into spicy, but definitely we love variety of food. I think that
Absolutely.
you have tasted some things in Cali, right?
But yeah, now that Christopher was mentioning that Chinese food, it's kind of healthy. I don't think that the version of the Chinese food here in Colombia is healthy because we are used to mix it with a lot of things. Maybe we have the Chinese rice, well, that what we call Chinese rice, and we eat it with, I don't know, Coca-Cola, or maybe we fry something else. And yeah, it's
true.
definitely not healthy.
So it's always good to have a little bit on the healthiness with the healthy side as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you analyze it, Chinese rice plus Coke is like the great solution when you are starving.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
At least
In the
here is the
amount of
resolution.
rice, I mean, you buy one for 2 people and all the family ends up eating that.
Yeah, I mean, the persons are very generous here. So that's a good choice. Well, on the other hand, we want to talk about communication. I have analyzed that here in Western culture, we are very direct when we want to say things. But Chinese people are more like a saving face. They are not very direct as us. So how can you deal with that duality in your real life? Because you're having both cultures.
So I think one of the things about Chinese people, they don't show their affection by hugging or kissing. I think I've only seen my parents kiss once, and that was when I got married, and only because they were forced to, because we were doing the glass and telling everyone they need to kiss, right? But really, they don't show their emotions or affections that way. I think one of the things they do more, or most Chinese people do more, is through cooking or food, again. They'll make sure that you had something to eat, right? So if you come over and you're coming home and they say, have you eaten as yet? Did you eat something, right?
Ah, yes, it's very common that the person is concerned about you. He asks the question, Shilama? Like, have you eaten yet?
Yes.
Ah, you see, guys, we're learning. What about you, Christina?
Yeah.
What about that communication?
For sure. Growing up in a household where one of my parents was Chinese and one of my parents was Italian, but both of them have been more westernized by Canada. I definitely got the diluted effects of that and more of a westernized, Canadianized perspective. But still, I got that from both sides of my grandparents. I think that for sure Chinese culture is not as direct. I agree with what my father says entirely. I think another way that I've experienced love from my dad's side has been through Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, when young children or children who are individuals who are not married yet receive a red packet or a red envelope that has a little bit of money in it, and it's a way of encouraging a prosperous new year, and depending on what year it is, we would be celebrating what we're starting. So I think we just celebrated in February the year of the horse, I believe, which is very exciting, and it's really surrounded around family and sharing culture and sharing dishes rather than speaking words of affection.
And now that we're talking about family, I think we had a misconception because there's a stereotype that says that Chinese families are very strict about career paths, for example. So I want to ask you if you have ever feel that way with your family.
That's an excellent question. Yes, I feel like we've all, or at least in Canada, it's a very, very popular stereotype to have the tiger mom or the tiger dad. So it's like a really strict helicopter, overbearing parent. That's not my dad, don't worry. But I've seen it in my friends, a lot of them in Canada. It's especially popular with those who are immigrants. I feel as though a lot of Chinese people have immigrated everywhere and anywhere.
It's somehow like a pressure that they get
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Because of how difficult it was to immigrate, they have such high expectations. Now they've moved, they've gone through the efforts, and now they want to see the fruits of their labor in their child. They want a stable future for their child. A lot of my friends have been pushed into the sciences, you know, with the mindset of you have to become a doctor, you have to become a lawyer, you have to become an engineer. Yes, those are the big three. I'm really lucky to have a family that is less strict and I guess more modern and westernized in that way. And I think China in general is moving away from that kind of mindset, but I definitely think it is still a really big part of the culture. Excellence in general and overall others' perceptions of you as a family is very important in Chinese culture.
So we can say that Chinese culture is not longer about discipline.
It is to an extent. Filial piety is a really big idea in Chinese culture. Filial piety is the idea that you must respect your elders. Just because they're older than you, they automatically gain respect. It's not a respect is earned kind of situation. Because you are younger, you must respect them. They have more wisdom. They've lived life longer than you. They know more than you. So it is assumed that at dinner time, they will be the first to get all the best pieces of shrimp, let's say. Or if there's a seat, you're making sure that you're giving up that seat for them because they've gone through more hardships than you. So I think it's that kind of idea of it is a little strict. It is a little bit more on the less free-thinking side, but at the end of the day, it surrounds family in a different manner than the West.
And I think that the Western culture needs to, I don't know, learn about that because many people just don't respect their elders. And I don't know, what is it that way?
That others, sorry.
Yeah, well, others just don't respect their elders.
Yes.
Here in the Western culture, that's something that it needs to be changed. And I think it is not something to, I don't know, mark them from strict. We just need to learn from that.
I agree. I completely agree. I think being modern and learning about different people is super important. I think that you should respect everybody. I don't feel like there's certain groups that deserve more respect than others. I feel like, you know, if I show you respect, you show me respect. But I definitely think, yes, it's more of a Eastern idea and it hasn't necessarily translated to the West.
Yeah, and I think it must.
I agree.
Great. Well, actually, I noticed that we're having some comments on YouTube, okay? So I'm gonna try to read very quick. He says, Juan Diego, Sterling Moreno says, Cali and China both value relationships, whether it's Colombian, warm, or Chinese, Wan Chi. Well, talking about this, Christopher, I know that this concept Wan Chi is building relationships, right?
Absolutely. Sorry.
Wan Chi. Give me a moment. Hey, give me a moment. Oh my God, one. That one.
So I think one of the greatest things about China is it tries to build relationships with everyone. It may not seem that way, but we're all looking to be one people. Especially in Canada, we have a multicultural melting pot, I want to say, of people in there. So when you go there, you'll see a lot of East Indians, South Asians. I don't think Colombians are there too as well. Yeah. So a lot of Chinese, Japanese. What's great about it is you're able to live your culture there too as well. So it's not that you go in there and you lose yourself. So the great thing about it is you go there, there's lots of Chinese restaurants, lots of different Japanese restaurants, Colombian restaurants, things like that. So you're able to go to different things and still hold on to your culture. And basically, you're living amongst different people, but the same idea or same things you want to do.
Okay, that's right. Well, now that we're talking about communication, relationships, let's move into technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that nowadays everybody's talking about China in terms of technology. So I want to ask the audience here in the Arco Central and online about the Chinese apps. What are those Chinese apps that you use the most? Think about it. Well, I know that we're talking about many Chinese apps, but that you use the most. I think one is iconic that everybody talks is TikTok.
Yeah, I bet everyone has it.
Linda, also TikTok?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know that it's from a Chinese person, right? TikTok?
Yes. So TikTok is something that's in China mostly. The other countries do have it. I think it's actually not in Canada now. It's been a bit banned, a bit.
It's still there.
It's still there, but not as enforced.
They've made another version, I believe, in China to replicate TikTok when it was banned in the States, I remember, which a lot of Westerners have flocked to because they like the environment, the meta environment on that app. I don't remember what it is called. I don't use it, but I use mostly TikTok. But I know that China has just created a lot of really, really popular apps, a lot of popular brands. Like Shein is known around the world, and I just realized today after walking around at this beautiful event that it was Chinese. So I think it really speaks to the globalization and the power of influence that China has on the world. I feel like a lot of people think of China and they think of goods that are made and transported. A lot of times I'll read something and I'll say made in China or made in PRC, People's Republic of China. And I guess I've never really put two and two together that China is like the global producer powerhouse of the world, and that they silently create all these things and set all these trends and you don't even realize that it comes from there.
But wait, so TikTok is made by a Chinese person, but they don't use it in China?
I think because of the controversy that surrounded it in the States, people have moved to another app because now I believe TikTok is owned by an American company, and that created some distrust in it. And I think a big thing for China is trust in the government, in security. I think a lot of Westerners have conceptions of China that it is a negative thing that it is so heavily watched by the government. There are, I believe, over 400 million cameras in China. And I even myself as a Westerner, when we visited in Beijing, and like you could always feel like you were being watched, kind of like 1984 Big Brother. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot, you know? Me as an individual, I like my space. But Chinese citizens see that and they're like, I feel safe. I feel protected. I want my government to be watching me because I know it's their way of protecting me. So I guess it's a mindset difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Also because I noticed that China's government has invested a lot in different industries. Technology, agriculture, and also in buildings, things. So you can see like an evolution in China.
You can definitely see it in the bigger cities. Shenzhen, Shanghai, you see it a lot. Hong Kong, of course, has always been big. With China, it's one of the biggest producers of automobiles, as you know. And actually, they lead the way in the EV vehicles, right? The electric vehicles, right? So they're one of the biggest producers, and they're shipping it all over the world. So when you look at technology, they're very ahead of it. They're selling, they make the most computers, all those things. They're ahead of it.
In Roblox.
Yes.
I mean, I was surprisingly amazed when I saw the celebration of the New Year in this one that is the horse, right?
Yes.
Is the horse?
Yes.
And one of the dance scenes were basically with robots.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God. And the movements were very, very well done.
Yeah. So definitely they're ahead of the curve when you're looking at manufacturing and technology as well, right? They have the AI, they have the robots. I don't know if you've seen that. You've probably seen it on Instagram or TikTok, where they have the robots actually doing human performances, right? So I don't know, in Canada, I haven't seen that as yet, right? One of the big apps in China is WeChat. I guess it's similar to your WhatsApp, I guess, right?
Yeah, but I heard that WeChat, basically you can pay everything, right?
Yeah, so basically use that to pay. You can use that for reading the menu and paying for the food when you order it. So it's used for everything, yeah.
Interesting. So I guess in China they're not using a lot cash.
You're right. Because they have it all on their phones. I think it's similar to here as well, where you guys have the Wise card and all other things where you pay through your phone. They're similar to that too as well. So I think if you went from Cali to China, you'll probably feel at home. Yeah. I don't see you. Yeah.
It sounds great. I have another question, guys, because I mean, like Linda, I usually watch TikTok. And I have seen many gadgets from China, right, Linda?
Well, the bathroom is one of them, right?
Yes. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I want to have one of those gadgets. Do you have any of those gadgets at home?
So they're probably the king of gadgets when you look at it. They have all these little things that you don't know. I would say, do we have a lot of gadgets? I'm not too sure.
I don't think so.
We have to, actually, no, we do have one. We have the bug killer, the bug zapper.
Yes.
Which is convenient. You can, it's like a little wand, and you have the mosquitoes. You can just swipe at it, and it kills it, right? Yeah. So I'm sure people have that too as well. But little gadgets like that. But you're right. They do advertise a lot, and they do. But some of them, I think, are fake advertisements, where you think it is, but it's not what you think it is when you get it, right?
Okay. Well, yes.
I think I agree with my dad. We don't have a lot of those fun stuff, unfortunately, but they are cool to see. I had seen that it was like a day in my life on TikTok of a girl who worked in China. She worked in Beijing, I believe, or was it Shanghai? I don't remember now. But she walked us through every single day of her life, and I think what a big difference I saw wasn't necessarily the gadgets, it was the way of living, because she lived in a big city and we come from Toronto. Toronto and Cali, I feel like, are very urbanized both. It was interesting because she could not go the whole day without her phone. Like, that was her lifeline in terms of transportation, in terms of getting into her workplace. They had a Face ID. I know that's very popular here as well. Not necessarily as popular in Toronto too, so Cali is high tech in that way as well. I remember she didn't even cook at home. It was cheaper to buy food than it was to make it, which I think is also a testament to, I guess, their economy, and as well living in a city in China. But I think it's very interesting. It's a bummer that we don't have those gadgets, though. I know they look cool.
So I think it is not just a myth that the science fiction has shown us, that the big cities are full of technology, and it is a reality. But it is not just technology, I don't know, for fun, but to help the people.
No, 1,000%. I think China is definitely a leader when it comes to technological advancement. And I think that is due to the fact that there are so many Chinese citizens. It's an extremely large and populated country. And, you know, it did have the one-child policy that did affect the birth rate, and they implemented it in order to restrict the amount of overpopulation that was happening, and I believe this was in 1979. But they saw that there was a staggering difference between males and females being born, because as per Chinese culture, there's a preference for men because they will carry down the family name. So because of that, they have now, in 2016, when they stopped that policy, now they've loosened it to have 3 children max per family, but they still see the effects of that today. There's a highly aging population. I know other Eastern countries are facing that issue as well with Japan. There's a highly aging population. There are many, many men, but not a lot of women. So how are they going to reproduce in their country? A lot of the women were put up for adoption and then sent off to Western countries. So I think that they are a powerhouse, but they're now dealing with the after effects of their government's decisions.
And do you think that, well, there's many people, do you think that all of them have the same opportunities? Or maybe can you, I don't know, spot the difference between the Western and what happened in China with all of the opportunities for the people, maybe for study, for working?
For sure, for sure. I think there's a large wealth disparity in China. I think much larger than Canada, at least from what I've seen. My family that's back in China, they are on the wealthier side. So the opportunities I would say that they've had, like studying abroad, going to a private school and then university, these were all opportunities that they were lucky to have because they were in that top 10%. I would say that's a little bit more feasible for someone who lives in Canada, in Toronto specifically. It's a little bit more accessible depending on your socioeconomic status. I feel like because the wealth disparity the gap is so big in China, especially depending on the province or region that you live in, a lot of people who live in the more rural areas will not even, make it past elementary school. Some of them don't even end up going to school because they need to stay back and farm for rice because it makes more money than getting an education and leaving. They won't have the same opportunities, which is sad.
Yeah, totally.
That's nice. Well, I was just realizing that we're having several comments on YouTube and also many questions here. So, let me check. Juan Manuel Torres is asking what types of transportation are common in China?
Oh, of course, bicycles. Right?
Bicycles? Is number one?
There's so many bicycles, yeah. The great thing about it is, like I said, to rent a bike, you can just scan the bike and you can start using it, right? And then you just drop it off wherever you are at your destination, end of the destination. So a lot of good exercise, I guess, with it. Not as much, I guess there's a lot of cars, but you won't see a lot of family driving the cars just because it's a little more difficult on the roads. So that's why you see a lot of
bicycles and motorbikes.
Yeah, even taking, motorbikes too as well, right? But even catching a taxi, it's probably faster, like over here, to catch a bike. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Paula Andrea Caravalli is asking, China's transportation technology is next level. What's the fastest or most unique way to get around there? The fastest.
Fastest way around?
Transportation mode in China.
Definitely the trains. When you look at it, they have the high-speed trains, right? So that you can catch the high-speed trains and go to, say, if you're in Hong Kong, you can go to Shenzhen. It takes about a couple of hours, an hour or so, and it's a fair distance. So it's a good way to travel if you have to go a long distance. Right.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Samuel Perdomo is asking, what cultural differences usually surprise people when they visit China? Because you mentioned that you were in Beijing, right? What something was like a cultural shock when you were in Beijing?
Definitely think it's the food.
The food?
Right? Yeah, because when you look at it, as with anyone, I guess, you're so used to eating your food that when you go over there and you see something different, you're like hesitant to eat it, or you're not sure what it is, right? One thing I've never had the urge to try is stinky tofu. All right?
Stinky tofu?
Yep. So I don't know if anybody knows it, but it's very stinky.
That the smell is very strong.
Yeah, the smell is very strong, but yet people enjoy eating it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not like it, but you do have people who try it. All right.
Okay.
I have one question here. It says, how do stereotypes influence the way we see other countries? How do stereotypes influence the way we see other countries?
I definitely think because China is a very monocultural country, it promotes the idea of there only being one type of Chinese person. I know that a big culture shock, I guess you could say, was I expected China, especially Beijing particularly, to be very rigid. Very much focused on technological advancement and science, because that's what I had seen from my family. But then when I went there, I was very surprised that they had a lot of contemporary art, especially for somewhere like Beijing, which is the capital and that's where the government is. I expected it to be similar to, a kind of very industrial kind of atmosphere, but we had visited an art contemporary center, which was a 1950s military base that had been repurposed into having cafes, restaurants, and other various types of murals on the wall. And I thought that was such a cool way to repurpose an area that was not necessarily seen as individual expression, and that I guess that's a more Western idea, and they were able to blend other cultures by still promoting Chinese cultural art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Well, there are many questions in the chat, to be honest. But now, because you are here, having a nice time in Cali, Brian Posada is asking, what traditional food from Colombia have you liked? Or have you tried that you say, oh, I like this one? You're from Colombia. A food that you like?
I love the guava candy, right? That's something I actually enjoy because I have a little bit of a sweet tooth. So that's always delicious to me. Yeah.
I think another thing that my dad really enjoyed was the pan de bono. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
yes.
pan de bono.
We tried that when we first got here, and we were surprised because there's cassava inside it, right? In the cassava root inside the bread.
Yeah.
And we were really surprised to see that because it's not a very typical Western vegetable, but it's used a lot in bubble tea, like tapioca pearls. That is cassava root. So we were like, wow, that's so cool that they use it in this way here.
Another one is the sancocho.
Oh yes,
Very delicious. Yeah, I have to say when I go to the mall, I always make sure I try that.
Okay.
Yes.
And how was the sancocho for you?
It was very good. Yeah, I love the different the yam, the different roots in there, and the soup is very delicious. So it's filling and it's hearty.
Soup is a big thing for us because in China, soup is like everything. There's soup for anything. They have congee, which is a really staple. Really, you can explain it if you want.
It's made from rice, and basically they used to call it a poor person food because they would take the rice and just make it into a soup. But now you see it in a lot of restaurants. They'll have different types of congee now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's become a staple. It's no longer viewed as a poor person thing. So it's funny how influence and people experiencing these different foods give it power and culture. And so it was just interesting to see. I had a few friends that I met here, and they were like, yeah, soup is a big deal in Colombia. Like all Colombians, or at least Caleños, have soup, And I was like, oh, that's so nice. It reminded me of my Chinese heritage.
Oh my God, that's nice. Well, I have another question because maybe in this university we're talking about China, the culture, the heritage, all that stuff. Maybe someone in the future wants to travel to China. So what advice or recommendation do you have for someone here from Latin America that want or would like to travel to China?
Definitely do it. It's going to be life-changing. And it opens your eyes to different cultures and what other people are doing out there too, right? So I think one of the things is travel is great. All right, and my wife and I, and my daughter, we always travel everywhere. We've been to a lot of places and experienced different types of food, different cultures. So it's fantastic, right? You have to get out there and see it. I could talk about it, but until you're over there and experiencing it, you can't see it.
I agree. I completely agree with my dad. I think China, I think it's daunting because not only the language barrier, we were just talking about it before, Brenda, but it's difficult to learn Mandarin, and it depends on where you go. Sometimes they speak Cantonese instead. So it's very difficult to learn the language because of the different tones and how that affects the meaning of the word, and that can be scary, especially it's not a Romance language, and English is the lingua franca. I mean, if you speak English and they speak English, which is becoming more and more common with technology, then you're lucky, and that's awesome. But I think it's still a really big obstacle and a fear, I think, for people who want to go to China. But I think what bright side is, which we've talked about, is that everybody uses their phones. Phones are a really big thing. Everybody has a data plan, right? With like gigs, loads and loads of gigs. So pull up that Google Translate. Everyone's very friendly. That's one thing that we've noticed. Just like caleños, they're extremely friendly in China, and they're open to helping you navigate where to go, how to say this, how to order that. So I think it shouldn't be a daunting task, but more an exciting experience.
I think that's why people just don't think about the language barrier, because of the way the people live there.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, I think it's good that they get like a special VPN, right?
Yes.
Because if I'm not wrong, I mean, you can access like here in China on your social media apps.
Yes.
So you need to get like also a WeChat card. I think so. To move around in China to get a WeChat.
The WeChat?
We use WeChat in Toronto, but it's mostly to communicate with those in China. WeChat is not very popular, but you're right, VPN is a big deal. Yeah.
So one of the things with China, they do block like Google. So some sites are blocked there. So definitely if you have a VPN, you're able to go over there and have the full use of your phone, I guess, when you want to look at it. So if you want to Google something and see the meaning of it, it's going to help you out. So I think a VPN is definitely something you should get when you're over there. But I think you will be able to still be able to get along over there with everything that you have, right? Similar as Kali here, we don't speak Spanish, or I don't speak Spanish, I should say. My daughter apparently can speak a little bit better than me.
I'm trying my best.
No, that's the idea, to learn from everybody.
And everyone is so helpful here, right? Like we've gone to the grocery store, they've been really, really nice, right? And I guess they've forgiven us for all our mistakes that we make.
Aye, that's great. Yeah. Well, let's go with the last part, Linda. So the idea is also to talk about like some scholarships, education in China, right, Linda?
Yeah, well, do you know any way that people can go to China to study?
For sure. When we had gone to China in 2017, we had gone to the Beijing Language and Culture University. And it was such a beautiful university that really prioritized foreign languages and diversity. And so I think Spanish would be a big advantage to have in your back pocket, to be able to study abroad there, to do a semester, to do an exchange. We lived in the residences, which was a very exciting experience, I think. We lived like locals for a few weeks, 4 weeks, I believe, almost a month. I think that kind of exchange with a university, a partner university that specializes in diversity and languages, is a great way to take that step and to try and experience Chinese culture.
And as an exchange student living with both cultures, what advice could you give to someone who wants to travel abroad and study?
I think you definitely have to be resilient. I think if you're a perfectionist, if you're really focused on having a rigid schedule, it's going to be really difficult to travel, at least in my experience. Between language barriers, between things happening late, a train arriving late, or you losing your luggage, things happen, and I feel like having that resilience, having that empathy and communicating with others and problem solving these little miniature issues, it's important to remain positive and to know that this is just a speed bump, but I'm doing this because I want to better myself. I want this opportunity and this learning experience. I think it's also really normal for people to get homesick. I know we're only a few weeks here. I think we're like 1.5 weeks in, and I'm starting to miss my family back home. But I'm trying to remind myself that, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I've never been to Colombia, and that I want to make the most of it while I'm here so that I can go back, hug my family, and tell them about all the amazing experiences that I've had and show them all the pictures too.
And also you learn from different people, right?
Exactly, meeting all the different people. Exactly, I think that's a really big part. I think you get to know the culture, not just through the art and the history, but through meeting the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you're immersed in their culture and immersed in the language, you're going to pick it up faster.
Yeah.
So when you're over there studying, I think it will be a great opportunity. I know with my wife, when we went over there with the school. They were able to, on the weekends, go to other different cities like Shanghai, visited themselves. So it was a great opportunity to get out there and see China. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, maybe we can see that China is definitely 1,000 miles away. But even though if you want to study there, you can go, just research in the correct places, right?
Yeah.
And here, I think that we're having the Alianza Colombo-China, so you can search information in there, right, for scholarships. So guys, I think that we're wrapping up. Thank you very much for this episode about China. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the people connected online. And thank you, Christina. Thank you, Christopher, for being here. We hope that you like this invitation. So I don't know, you want to wrap up with the last message for the students?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me and my father. We were so touched to be invited. When we were invited, we felt a little scared because, you know, we are Chinese, but we're Canadian too. And we were nervous that we wouldn't be, you know, accurate enough experts for this very daunting task of a podcast. But I think the beauty of cultures and sharing identities is that everybody has their own take on it. And I think Chinese people especially have immigrated everywhere and anywhere. So everybody has their own view on the culture and how they've incorporated these traditions into their life. You can speak to it too, I guess. Yeah.
So definitely get out there and try the food because it's really good. As you can tell, I love food. So make sure you go out there and you have the different type of Chinese food, not just the fried rice. That's your basic.
We'll have to try that though.
Yeah, you do have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, guys. Thank you, people online.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Welcome to UAO Speaks English.
A streaming program with a radio format made by the students for the world.
UAO Play en YouTube.
Conocimiento puro.
UAO Play, aquí te ves.